Hi and welcome to this DCP web tutorial. In today's tutorial, I'm going to be giving you a beginner's guide to using Magix Movie Edit Pro Plus 2020. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is download some example video clips that we can use during this tutorial. So I'm going to download a few examples. I'm going to show you, if we go to our web browser and we go to this website called Pixabay, we can download loads of different types of video content from here. So you can just go to the home page here, click on this drop down, select video, and you can search for anything you like. I'm going to be doing a tutorial or an example of using this software themed around planet Earth or different locations on planet Earth. So that's kind of the theme, right? So in here I've typed in something like city, for example, and then I can find all of these different views of different cities, like this one here, for example, right? So let's download a couple. So I'm just going to go to this particular URL. All the videos that I use in this tutorial today, I'm going to put all of the links to every single file in the YouTube description. So check the YouTube description and you can download the exact same videos I'm downloading. If you choose to use some other videos, which is fine, make sure you download, when you click the free download, make sure you're downloading them at 1920 by 1080 here. 1920 by 1080. So if I click the green download button, you'll see this video will start to download. It's like 12 megabytes, so it's not a massive file by any means. Now I'm not going to download all the videos because I've already created a folder on my desktop, and inside this folder I've downloaded all of the video clips that I want to use in this tutorial. So if you check the YouTube description, you'll find all of these videos there. Here you can see the notes that I've made on every single video that I've downloaded so far. I've also downloaded an audio track, so let's quickly do that now. I'm going to go to this website URL. I'll put a link to this website URL in the YouTube description, and I'm going to download a track. So I'm going to go to the search here and I'm going to hit enter, and I'm going to download this track called Breathing Planet. So I'll click download here, then I've got the MP3 file, and normally I'll just drag and drop that into this folder here. I'm not going to do that because I've already got that file here already. So I'm just showing you how to download the videos and the audios that I'm going to use in this this tutorial. So you can have your own content, or you can follow me by downloading the same content that I have. Now with YouTube audio, you need to make sure you've got a YouTube account, or otherwise it will ask you to log in to download that particular audio track, or you can use some of your own music if you have that as well. Let's close this down. Let's go to the start menu here, and I'm going to load up Magix Movie Edit Pro Plus 2020. This is the latest version of Magix Movie Edit Pro Plus. So we're going to do a tutorial today and show you how to use the software. So as default, when you load up Magix Movie Edit Pro, it's going to present you with this screen. It's like a project screen. And if you remember, I just told you that all the videos we're downloading are 1920 by 1080, so that's pretty much standard HD resolution. I want to be running them at, let's see, we want to find in here 29 frames a second, right? So we want to run it at 1080i, let's see, 1920 by 1080, and we want to run it at 20, yeah, here, this one here. So it's a HD TV, 1080i, 16 by 9, 1920 by 1080 at 29.97 frames a second. That's the right frame rate for me. Depending on your video, the content that you capture, you may capture at 30 frames a second, 20 frames a second, or 25 frames, 30 frames, but this is normally like a pretty standard frame rate. The sample audio, I'm going to leave it at all the way at the top, so as it's default. I'm going to go ahead and click create project here. It's going to present me with a blank project, so nothing's really happening at the moment, but we'll just go to file here quickly and save project as, and we'll go to my desktop. Let's go to this PC desktop, and on here I'm going to go into the folder, and I'm just going to save it as its default name. It's normally just the date, and I'm going to click save. So when I go to my desktop now, if I go back a folder, you'll see this is the file here. This is like the make file, so we can open and edit the file again by using this particular file. Just double click on it and it will open our project. So if we go back to Magix Movie Edit Pro, let's just explain quickly what you see on the screen. So over here is the video player. So when you drag and drop content into Magix, you're going to see your video content here basically, right? You've got the timeline up here, and you've got the end time here basically. So this will give you like your total duration. This is like the little timeline here. This is quite helpful. Then you've got this little orange marker. This allows you to move across the timeline. You can just grab that, or you can use the arrow keys on your keyboard as well, left and right. You can do that as well. And then across here you've got different tools. For now, all I want you to do is turn on the mouse mode here. So click this one here, and then turn on the object grid here, this one. This is it's like a sort of a magnet. It will help us to snap objects together afterwards, so that's quite useful. Now, as default, you might not see the timeline when you load up Magix. Normally it will be set to the storyboard mode here. So this is quite a basic tutorial, so we're going to focus mainly on using the timeline mode. So we click timeline mode here. This is what we're going to be using. Now, there's two ways to get content into Magix Movie Edit Pro. You can either go to your desktop, open the folder, so this is where all the content is, and if you've got the folder on the top, you can just drag and drop into the timeline here from your directory. Or you can go and browse, so we can browse to my desktop. Let's try and find that. Let's see, computer, I think we'll go to here. Let's go to desktop, and then on desktop I have this folder, and inside this folder I've got the videos that I've downloaded, right? So here you can see all the same videos. These are the same ones as these ones here. And let's see, you can do like large icons. So you can click here and select large icons, and then you can actually see the thumbnail of what it is. And I've kind of labeled all of the videos. These don't necessarily get labeled correctly when you download them. It might just have some strange name or some naming convention. So I've named each one correctly just to make life a little bit easier for myself. So when I put the notes on the YouTube description, I'll also put the name of what each one is, so like London, United Kingdom, and so forth. This will help us to do some titling afterwards as well. So we're going to do some titling. So let's go ahead and think about our intro. This is all about Planet Earth. So I downloaded this particular video. You can click the play button here, right, just to see the video playing in the playhead here. It's just Planet Earth spinning in. So I want to drag and drop that onto the timeline. Now that particular clip is quite long, right? It's 14.5 seconds long. You can see the duration here, 14.5 seconds. So that's a bit too long for me. Really, I want it to be around, let's say around 8 seconds. So if I move across the timeline here, you'll notice that this timeline will increase and decrease as I move. And if I keep moving across, I'm going to get to 8000, right here, right here. So when it gets to that particular point, sometimes it needs to be like a frame here, right here. So this is 80. This is exactly 8 seconds. I want to cut the video here. So what I'll do is click on this particular video clip and use the cut tool here. This one here, split object. Now I've got two different objects, and I can delete this back one. So I can select it and then hit the delete key on my keyboard. So now I'm just left with this 8-second duration, right? And we're going to do some fading and some nice effects and stuff like that. So let's really, it doesn't really matter which order I pull these particular video clips in, but I'm going to pull them in the same order that I've listed them here, just to make my life a little bit easier. So we can see Planet Earth was first. Really, this Planet Earth will be at the end as well, but I'm not going to list it here like that. All I want to do next is take New York, America. So let's have a look for New York in here. Here's New York, right? So I'll drag and drop that onto the timeline, and that particular video clip, let's see, there must be a way. Let's have a little quick check here. Let's see, details, let's have a look. It would be, there must be a way. Let's see. Okay, so we're at 8 seconds here. Really, I want this particular clip, if I play it, right, can you see it's quite slow? Like the smoke is quite slow. It's pretty much playing at real time, right? It's not sped up or anything like that. And I actually want to speed this clip up. So I'm going to click on it. I'm going to go to effects here. And inside effects, I'm going to scroll up to the top section here. And I'll click on this particular clip and go to speed. And in speed, I'm going to set it to 3 value here, 3 value. So this is going to speed it up 3 times what it normally plays at. So when I click play now, you can see it's playing much quicker. It doesn't look like it, but it is actually playing 3 times faster than its original speed. So you can see the actual video clip in here was reduced in size because it's playing 3 times its original speed. Therefore, it won't be all the way down here. It's going to get reduced on the timeline. Now we're on 8 seconds here, and I want this particular clip to last, let's say around, let's think about this, right? So probably around 8 seconds should be enough as well. So 8 and 8 is 16. So really what I want to do is get this timeline at the top left hand corner. Sometimes it can be a little bit tricky, right? So you can see it's 1601. So what you can do is hold down the control key and use your mouse wheel to zoom in. And when you zoom in, you can move this timeline a bit more accurately. You can move it like on the frame, you can see. Now it's a bit easier to target the 16. So if I click on the on this video clip and use the cut tool again, use the cut tool, click this this back part and then just hit the delete key. So now really what we have is two clips side by side. But if I were to go to the timeline around here and click play, you'll see it will just quickly jump between one and the other. There's no transition between them. And sometimes you want jump cuts. We call these jump cuts in your content. But sometimes it's nice to have some sort of transition like a fade or some sort of effect between them, right? So we know each one is 8 seconds long. If I click on this clip and if I start to drag it backwards, above the clip you'll see there's a little a little time indicator. And right now the time indicator, if I let go of the mouse, it's going to disappear. But when I click again, you'll see it right about here. I might be able to zoom in and show it a bit closer. It will display just above, right? So when I left click, can you see it now? It pops up. Let's do that again. Here you'll see it. It's set to 800, and I want to push to the left and set it to 700. So 700 is right here. If I let go now, that's exactly 1 second crossfade duration. It started at 8, I dragged it back 1 second to 700. So now it will crossfade. So when I click play, you'll see it will fade in and out like this. Now you don't have to have it just a straight fade like that. Let's click the save button here. We can go to templates, and inside templates you've got all of these different transitions. So let me set this to small. So you can click here and you can drag to set them to different sizes. I'm going to set it to small because this allows us to see a lot more transitions in here. So you've got all these different transitions. So let's take an example. Let's take circles for example. If I click the play button, it will show me what that transition looks like. So that's exactly what the transition looks like. And if I drag and drop it into this space here where I've got the crossfade, so let's take it, I'll left click, drag and drop it into that particular space. It will apply that transition. So if I click here now, left click here, around here and click play, we can see that transition now. Can you see that? Like this. So it's no longer a crossfade, it's using this one, but I don't really want to use that particular one. You've got loads of different examples in here. So you've got like stripy ones. Let's click here. Normally I'll click back here, then click play. And now you can see that one is like a little staggered sort of slide one there. And then you've got loads of different ones. You've got like raindrops. Let's try that one. Sometimes you need your crossfade to be much longer. If you notice when I drag and drop this, can you see how large that grey bar is? So that grey bar really represents its natural transition time. You can think of it that way. And when you drag and drop it into a smaller space, that transition gets kind of sped up. So sometimes it's better to, if you've got a small transition like this, sometimes you need to pick one that is actually designed as a small transition. So normally something like circles, if I drag that, well, let's have a look at this one. Can you see this one's quite small? Can you see how small that grey block is? If I drag and drop that here and then click play, you'll see the transition looks much smoother. It's much more natural. If I drag the circle one, you can see how big it is. Or if I drag this one here, you can see it's small, right? So if I drag and drop that one in there and click play, it will transition in a more of a natural way, in the way that it was supposed to be used, rather than when I drag and drop something that's quite large. Let's say something like this maybe. You can see look how big the grey block is. Now if my transition was that wide, then it will look fine. But if I click and drag and drop it here, let's click play. Let's go back, play. You can see it goes really fast. If I was to drag and make that transition much longer, well, I don't really want to do that, but if I click play now, you can see the transition looks much more natural, the way it's supposed to play, right? I don't want that, so I'm going to press, when you drag something or you do something that you don't want, you can just left click outside and press Ctrl Z, and Ctrl Z will undo, so you can see it's back at its natural position. And really all I want is a really simple transition. There's loads of different examples up here, right? There's all these different ones that you can play around with. I'm not going to go through all of them. There's some really nice ones, and there's all different ones. It's really down to you what you want to use, what is your preference. So I'm going to use just like a simple crossfade like this one here, and drag and drop it here. And what I might do is have one fade to the left, and then the next transition will be to the right, to the left, to the right, and so forth. Let's click play, and it's going to be something like this. Okay, that's done. We know that each clip is going to be 8 seconds. So really this end part is 7, right? This one here. But every single clip we use from now on is going to be 8 seconds duration. So let's go ahead and move to the next clip. Let's click import. Let's set this back to large icons so we can see them. We've used the first one. So we look in our list. We've used New York. So now we want to go to London. So we'll drag London. This one's London. I'll drag that into the timeline. And we can go here and click play, and this one is kind of done in a time lapse, so it's already running quite fast, so we don't really want to speed this one up. And if we note here, we ended on 15 seconds, right? That's when the last one ended. So 15 plus 8 will be 23, so we're going to drag this timeline across to 23 seconds. So we want to see 23 up here, right? 23. Then we can click on this clip, use the cut tool, delete the end part. So just click on it and delete it. And then we want to drag this back. And it says 15 at the moment, so we want to drag it back to where it says 14. And that will be exactly 1 second. That's 14. Let's save this. Go to templates. And we've used this one already. So we're going to use the other one, the opposite direction. And click here and drag and drop it. Now when we click play, it's going to fade this way. Right, now we've got London. We're going to do some titling in a moment. I just want to get the clips in here. So I'm going to speed things up a little bit. Let's go ahead and look at our so we've got Seoul, Korea. So let's click here and we'll find Seoul. Where's Seoul? Here it is. Let's drag and drop that onto the timeline. Now we're on 22. So 22 plus 8 will make 30. So let's drag along to 30, which is we actually don't have enough, I don't think. So let's see. Let's go. We might have to actually stretch this timeline a little bit, make it longer rather than shorter. Sometimes when you get to the end, you can't really scrub further. That's because you're at the end of your video clip. So what you can do is hold down the control key and use the mouse wheel to zoom out. Now you can see the back of the timeline here, right? So use the control key and the mouse wheel to zoom in and out of your timeline. And the further you zoom in, the more finite you're seeing the timeline. The smaller you can increment the timeline, the movement of it. Let's zoom back out, and when we get to the end here, we can see we want to be on 30, but it's on 28.24. So let's click on this clip. Let's go to the effects and let's go to speed. And instead of making it faster, we want to make it a bit slower. So let's just drag this this way. We want to drag only a small amount, around 0.8. Let's set it to 0.8. And then let's see, we want to get to 30, right? So that's almost perfect, right? So we slowed down the video slightly just to give us a bit more duration. Now we've got that little bit at the end to cut off. So let's click here, cut it. Let's select that last piece and delete it. Hit the delete key. Let's just play this and make sure it plays okay. So it still plays okay, even though we've slowed it down. It's still a time-lapse video, so it's going to play pretty quick anyway. Now some of these video clips might have audio, so I'm going to show you how to mute them. Let's just mute them quickly to make sure when we play we don't have any sort of strange audio playing in the background. Most of these clips that are uploaded to Pixabay won't really have audio, but some of them might. So to mute them, what you do is move your mouse cursor over the video clip. This one actually doesn't have any audio. Normally it will show a little sort of option here to mute it. So I might have to actually show you, or this one has audio here. Can you see? If I click on this one, there's only a little like triangle at the top here. If you see where my mouse is, there's not one below. That means this track doesn't have any audio. But if I go to this one, you can see one above here and one below. So if I left click there and drag all the way down, it's set to off. That means it's been muted. So if there was any audio on this track, on this particular clip, it's been muted. So if you don't see that little arrow or that little cursor below this top one, then there's no audio on that particular video clip. The top one is to actually fade, do some sort of fading. So I might show you in a little while how to do your own custom sort of fading. In fact, we'll do that in a moment because we want to fade this planet in and then we want to fade it out at the end as well. So let's in fact do that now quickly. So when we go to this planet clip, in the top left hand there's a little circle. sort of little handle to grab onto. So if I left click on that and drag across, you can see I'm dragging and making this sort of triangle shape. This is actually going to be a fade, right? So I want to fade it to around here, around this sort of duration. So the longer you drag it, the longer the fade will be. So if I go to the beginning, click play, now you can see it's going to fade in, right? Like this. So if I were to drag that further down, quite far down, then the fade will be much more gradual. It's down to you, that's your own preference. I want it to fade quite quickly. So I'm going to set it to around here. Something like this. Click play, now it's going to fade in. Then we're going to make some sort of title that goes across here, like planet Earth and stuff like that. And then it's going to transition here, right? And then it's going to transition here again on the next one. And now we need to set the transition for the third one. So let's drag across. This is our clip. If we left click on it and drag it slightly, it's set to 22, and we want to go in one, so we're going to set it to 21. So as we drag across, I'm going to set it to timeline 21. That's exactly 1 second. And this time we'll go to template, and we want to use this transition because we've used the other one previously. We used that one on the last one. We're going to use that one, this one on this particular clip. Let's move to the next clip. Let's try and speed this up a bit. South Horizon's Hong Kong. So let's go to Hong Kong. Let's go to import. We've got Hong Kong in here somewhere. Let's find it. Must be here. Here it is. So let's drag and drop that onto the timeline. And we'll click on this clip. And if we move our cursor, timeline cursor, let's in fact play it quickly. So you can see it looks like this. And the clip itself is quite long. So let's see, and it does do some sort of zoom in and transitions. So maybe we'll speed this one up a little bit. So let's see. Let's just zoom out a little bit. On the timeline at this position, we're at 20. Where are we? We're going to be at 29. So 29 plus 8 will be 30. My brain ain't working. There is a 37, right? So we're going to move to 37. 37 will be around, just around here. We can adjust that slightly. So you can see there's only a small amount. Let's just make sure we've done that right. Let's go to here. This is 29. So 37 should be correct. So we're going to move to 37, which is here. 37. We can get that a little bit more accurate in a moment. But roughly around 37. So let's click on this clip, go to effects. Let's speed it up a bit. Let's set it to something like 3, and then let's play it and see how it looks. So I think that will be okay. Let's just go to the beginning here. I think it's a bit too fast. So let's set it to 2. So it's twice as fast as it normally is, and I think that will be okay too. So we're going to move across the timeline now to 37. Let's get it to 37. Will be around, well, let's not say around, it should be exactly here. This is exactly 37. So let's click on this clip, hit the cut button, let's delete this, and we're going to drag this in. So it's 29 plus 8 will be 37, and we're going to drag it in 1 second. So this is 29, so we're going to drag it to 28, right? 28 here. Now we want to add our crossfade, so let's go back to template. We're going to use this one. Let's drag that here. Let's just save this and press play. And now we can see this transition. Now on the timeline we've got Bern, Switzerland here. So let's find Switzerland. Let's try and speed this up a little bit. Here's Bern. Let's drag that into the timeline. Let's go to here and click play. And this one's already time-lapsed. So we just want to see where we finish. We finish on 36. So we want to add 8 to that. So it'll be 44. Let's move to 44. Will be right here. We're going to cut it, delete the end part. Let's delete this end part. Click on this clip here. We're on let's see, 36. So I'm going to go back to 35. 35 is here. And let's just see. We used left to right on this one, so we want to use right to left on this one. Transition, which will be this one. Right to left. Let's just click play, check it. There it is, right to left. That one's done. Let's move to the next one, which will be Rotterdam, Netherlands. Rotterdam. Let's drag that one into the timeline, and let's see what it looks like. I think this one's time-lapsed as well already. So all we want to do is check where we finished. We finished on 43. plus 7, so that'd be 51, right? Plus 8, 43, yep, 7, 51. So we're going to move to 51. Let's get to 51. Let's see, 51 seconds. So well, I'm checking up here, right, for 51. That's where I'm looking, 51 here. Let's do the cut button, delete the end part. Let's select this clip, and it's on 43. When you drag it down to 42. 42 is here. Let's go to effects, and we want we want to go to template, and we'll use left to right. Left to right. The last one was right to left. This one will be left to right. That's Rotterdam done. Now we want to go to South Africa, Cape Town. So let's go to here. We've got Cape Town, or is it? Yeah, it should be under Cape Town, right? Cape Town here. It's like some beach. Let's click on it, drag it to the timeline. Let's save our work, and let's just see what this looks like. And we'll probably leave this playing naturally. We don't really want to speed it up or do anything crazy with the waves. So what we will do is all sort of waves. Let's just see. We're finished on 49. Finished on 50. So 58 is where we want to be. Let's go to 58. And you can actually use the arrow keys. I forgot to mention. I think I did mention that. So when you're dragging this timeline, and you get close to like 58, so you're like one frame away, right? 57.29. So you just use the right arrow key on your keyboard, and that will get you bang on 58. Let's click that, cut it, select the end part, delete it, select this. It's on 50.00, so we want to make it 49. Let's drag it to 49. This is 49 here. Let's go to template, and let's check the last one. It was left to right, so now we want right to left here. Let's check our document. We want to be on Berlin, Germany. So let's go to this. Let's drag in Berlin. Let's drag that one here. And we are on the timeline 57, 58, 59, 60, 65 will be 8 seconds. So that would be, let's see, let's get this right. 50, yeah, we're on 57. So that would be 1 minute 5. So we want to be on 105. 105 right here. So we're going to be on 1 minute 05 right here. 00. Let's click it, cut it, delete the end part, drag this over to, where are we? 57. So we're on 56. 56. Let's check this last one. So that was right to left. So we want left to right. Click templates. Let's go to left to right. Let's click play and check that. That's good. I think we've got one left, which will be Taj Mahal, India. So let's drag in Taj Mahal, India. Let's drag that one into the timeline. And we finished on 04. So 8 will be 12, right? Yep. 6 and yep. So we want to make this timeline move to 12 here. I'm just going to use the arrow keys, set it to 1.12 here. Let's cut it, let's delete this end part, let's drag this, let's see, 04 to 03 here. So it should have 103 written across there at the top. And then we'll go to templates. We did left to right, so now we want right to left. And now we've got a couple of options. Really what I want to do is take this planet Earth, and I want to use this clip. So I'm going to select it, press Control C to copy it. I'm going to move all the way down to the timeline and click here. Just click afterwards and then press Control V to paste it. I'm going to get rid of this fade because it's copied the fade. I'm going to select this planet. I'm going to go to effects, and then I'm going to go to speed, and I'm going to set it to reversed. I want to have it the opposite way around. So now it's going to go from large and fade down to small. Yeah. So it's kind of doing, it's basically playing in reverse. And this one we want to crossfade it. So on our timeline it's set to 11. So we want to set it to 1.10. So that is 1.10 there. And let's think, do we really want to crossfade? Maybe, let's see. Yeah, let's keep it consistent. I don't know what we did at the beginning. Let's just double check. So the last one we did over here was right to left, so this one will be left to right. So let's go to template, left to right, and let's save this. So really our basic video editing is done now, right? We should really click on these clips and make sure we mute them all, because we're going to put our own audio in there. So just drag down here, wherever you see that little option to drag, you want to drag down. And at the end here, we want to fade it out. So we want to do a little fade at the end here. So I'm going to click on this little circle here. Maybe I'll try and zoom in. You can hold the shift key to zoom in on the height here, yeah? And you can use the control key to zoom in on the actual timeline. So now you can see this little circle I'm clicking to do the fade, right? So I want to use the shift key to zoom in and out on the height, and then use the control key to zoom in and out on the timeline itself. So let's just see that fade out at the end. I think that will be fine. Let's go back to the beginning, and now we just want to add a few titles. Now, one thing to note with Magix Movie Edit Pro and most video editing software, the very top one is really considered the bottom of your timeline. It's like the lowest layer, and anything you put underneath will be considered layers on top. Seems a bit backwards, but it makes sense, because when you're doing video editing, normally you start with your back, the layers behind, and you work on top of it. So let's go ahead and click on templates here, and we've got loads of different examples in here. If I go to movement basic and click play, you'll see like the title here show up, and you've got like dynamic titles. These ones are pretty cool, like these ones here. You've got these ones here that sort of slide in like this. So let's drag and drop one of these in here. I kind of like these dynamic titles for the beginning, and then maybe the titles in between, the transitions, those ones will be a bit more simplistic. So let's see, this one here is pretty cool. It kind of drops down like this. I like this one. So let's stop this. Let's drag this into the timeline. You can see it's almost the same duration as the clip above, right? You can see it sort of dropping in like this. So obviously we don't want it to say that. So let's click on this clip and let's select this text and delete it. And we're just going to type in capitals planet. Let's type in caps PLAN planet Earth. So I'm just going to type in planet Earth, and the font is very small in here, and it's really the wrong sort of font that I want to be using. Maybe something like Arial Black. Let's see. Let's have a look. I've got quite a lot of fonts installed on here. I might use this Distance Galaxy. I quite like this font. I'm going to make it much bigger, so let's increase the font size to around here. I'm going to change its color. I think something like maybe like a blue color will look a lot better. We can underline it, we can make it bold, and we can make it italic. That's pretty much all we can do with the font when we're using these types of transition or these pre-built intros, you can call them, right? So Magix might sort of stutter here a little bit on the timeline because it's trying to do quite a few different things. But normally, if you want to get a bit of a smoother play, you can just use you can click on the timeline and use your mouse to scrub across. And what we want to do is really, I might just make this black actually. Let's make it black. Make the font black. Let's see. We want to make it a bit smaller so we can read it a bit easier. Try and reduce it. I'm not convinced with that font style. I think Arial Black look probably better. Let's try and find that Arial Black here. I think that's a bit cleaner. Maybe we'll make it white. White stands out a bit better, I think. We could make it bigger. Let's try and make it bigger. Maybe something like this. So we go back and click play. It might stutter a little bit, but you kind of get the idea of these letters dropping down, right? If you use your mouse to scrub across, you'll be able to see that a bit smoother. So at the end of this, I want to fade it out. So just like you can fade video clips, you can actually fade these text titles as well. So as it gets to the end, I'm going to fade it out. So when I click play now, the text title will fade out. fade out like this, and then it's going to do that transition. And then I want to make these titles a bit more simplistic, so let's go back to our templates here, and let's see, we can use let's have a look. We've got like captions, we've got loads of different ones in here. We've got movement basics, so normally movement basic is a little bit quicker. Maybe, let's see, maybe I'm not right. Let's try and use one of these. Let's see, we might do something pretty simple. Maybe something like this one, right, where it just slides in and slides out, probably. Yeah, so let's drag that one onto the timeline. You see it's too big. Can you see how wide it is? We could narrow it down, or maybe we'll just use our own static version. Let's see, let's try and find one that will work well for us. I think a lot of these are going to be quite long on the timeline. This one's actually quite small. Let's see what it looks like. That one's cool. That just kind of, this one zooms in and this one kind of zooms out. The opposites. There's quite a few different ones for you to experiment with. I can't go through all of them today, but I'm going to use this one. So I'm going to drag that onto the timeline, and really I want to place it after the crossfade. So after it's done its crossfade, then I want this to show, right? So let's zoom in on the timeline a bit. Let's get this a bit more accurate. So as you zoom in, you can get it to be a bit more accurate. I want it to snap exactly after the transition. And then this one, I'm going to click on it. You see you've got a lot more options with the text now. It's because this is more of a basic transition, whereas this one had all of these sort of letters dropping down. It was kind of animated like this, so you have less options with this particular one. But what we want to check is click on this one. We set it to Arial Black 44. So let's click on this one. Let's move across the timeline. Let's set this one to also Arial Black and hit enter. So it's the same font style. It was set to 44. So we might as well try and set this one to 44. I think that's going to be too long. The reason why is we're going to use two words in here. We're going to use, the reason why, that's why I wrote these names here, because this is like New York, America. So if I just cut and paste that in here, kind of fits, but I think some of these other ones are going to be much longer, like London, United Kingdom, and South Horizons, Hong Kong, Rotterdam, Netherlands. These are much wider text. We want to keep all of our fonts similar in terms of size. I'm going to reduce this in terms of its size to maybe around 28, I think, and then we should be able to fit the rest of them as we go along the timeline. This will just save us a little bit of headache. Let's click save, and let's go to the beginning of the timeline, click play, and then we'll see that New York, America, it will fade out at the end for us, and then it will transition across. And to be fair, I'm kind of preferring that title than the animated one at the beginning here. So what I might do is click on this animated one, delete it. Let's copy this one. Let's just select it, copy it, move to the beginning of the timeline and paste it. That's what we've got to do. Now that we've set the fonts and all the styles for that particular transition, we can just copy and paste it. Then we can double click on this one and just go to here and type in planet. Let's type it uppercase, lowercase. Let's try that again, Control Z. Alright, we'll select this one, copy it, paste it, drag it to the end, click on it, select this text and type in planet EA, planet Earth. And let's move back. We should be able to see that now. Planet Earth. That will fade out. Then the planet will fade out. Then New York, America. And then it will go to London, right? This one, London. So let's select this one here. New York, America. This title, New York, America. Let's move across the timeline to where this other transition happens. And let's press Control V. Let's see. Yeah, Control V to paste. And then we just want to snap. If you drag this, it will snap to the transition here. And then we can click on this one. Make sure your cursor is above the text, right? Above this yellow box where it's highlighted. Then you'll see it in the viewport here. And I'm just going to copy the text that I put in the notepad file. London, United Kingdom. Let's select this one, copy it, move to the timeline here, paste it. Just drag it and then snap it back. It will snap in place. Click above it. And then I'm going to copy the next title. Let's paste that one into here, Seoul, South Korea. So then we should see, let's click here and then let's click on the timeline. We should see Seoul, South Korea. Maybe we'll hit enter here. Yeah, we've got to hit enter then backspace to confirm it. So this one, let's click here. That one we changed by accident. This one should be London, right? London, United Kingdom. Let's make sure this one's correct. New York, London, United Kingdom, Seoul, South Korea. Let's select this one, copy it, move to the timeline here, paste it, just drag it forward, it will snap back again. Let's click here. Let's double click on this. I think you have to double click here to confirm that's the one that you're editing. And we're going to call this one South Horizons Hong Kong. Yeah, then it will work correctly, right? So this one's still Seoul, Korea. This one's South Horizons. Let's move along. We can do this a bit quicker now. Let's click it, copy it, move to across to the timeline, paste it, drag it forward, drag it back so it snaps. Move your timeline above the text, double click on it. This one was Bern, Switzerland. So let's copy and paste and overwrite that. Now you can see Bern, Switzerland here. Select that one, copy it, move across, paste it, drag it forward and then back. It will snap to the end of this transition. This one was Rotterdam, Netherlands. So we'll just select this text here, delete it, paste this new one. And we should see, let's see. Okay, we made a mistake here. So this one was Bern, Switzerland. So let's just put Bern, Switzerland back in here. What you need to do is double click on it, then paste it, and then it will accept it. So we move our cursor to here, double click here. This one says Bern, Switzerland. This one should say Rotterdam, Netherlands. So let's double click, paste in this text, and it should say Rotterdam, Netherlands, which is correct. And then let's move across the timeline. You can drag here to move across. Let's select this one, move here, paste it, drag it forward and back so it snaps. Let's move our timeline above, double click here, and this one should be Cape Town, South Africa. So double click, Cape Town, South Africa. Check the one before, that's correct. This one's Cape Town, that's correct. So let's select this one, copy it, move here, paste it. Just drag it forward and then back. Move our cursor above this box. This one's going to be Germany, Berlin. So let's double click, paste in that title. Then we can left click outside, copy this one, press Ctrl C to copy, move across, paste it, and then move our timeline above this yellow box. Or yellow is basically what's selected, right? This one's Taj Mahal, so let's double click, paste in Taj Mahal, and that one's done. And now we're back on the planet again. So let's copy our original one at the beginning. Let's copy this. Let's go right to the end, and let's do this after the fade, planet Earth, and then that's going to fade here again, like this. And that's it. We're done with our editing. So the next thing we want to do is add some music. So let's go back to import, and now we've got this one music track. Let's drag that onto the third part of the timeline, and then we can go to the beginning and click play. Now let's just check one thing. Let's see. You can what you can do is click on this and you can actually fade it in and out, but this one kind of has a nice sort of fade to it, just like you can fade titles and video clips. You can also fade audio. So if I were to drag this right all the way across here and then go back and click play, it would gradually fade in, but the actual track itself already has a fade in the actual track itself. I don't think we need to do that. Now if the volume is too loud, you can see here there's an option to either increase the volume or decrease it, and you can set it to where you think is going to be right for your track. As default, normally it's set to 0, right? 0 dB. So the lower if you drag it down, it's going to be more quiet. If you drag it up, it's going to be louder. And normally I like to set the audio a bit lower than its default. In this case, I'm going to set it to like -5 dB. The reason why is I don't want it to be too loud when people are watching it. If they want to make it louder, they've got the option to turn up their volume. But if straight away it's very loud, then it can be quite distracting, right? So I think around here is going to be fine. And the actual audio track was called Breathing Planet. That's why I kind of selected it. It kind of made sense for this particular clip. Now, if you see the yellow, this yellow here represents the audio track. And when it gets to the end, it's going to go right off the end because it's much, much longer. If I zoom out, it's much longer than our video clip. So we need to cut this. So let's go towards the end of our timeline. We can use our control key to zoom right in and zoom right out, right? We can zoom all the way out and we can zoom all the way far into like a really sort of small, as you fade in, you get more control, right? But we want to zoom out because we want to get towards the end of the timeline or the end of our video clip and click at the end. Click right at the end of our video clip. Let's click on this particular audio track. So make sure you click on the audio track, use the cut button, and now we've got the audio track split into two parts. Let's select this end part and delete it. And now we've got the end of the audio here. But if we click play, you'll see it will just stop off quite abrupt, the audio, and we don't want that. Sometimes when you click on this player head up the top here, you might press the control key and zoom in and out, right? So you can actually zoom in and out here as well. But normally I leave this at like 100%. It will tell you the percentage up here. So let's leave it at 100% here. You need to make sure you click down here when you zoom in and out. Now, one thing to note, wherever your timeline is positioned, that's where it's going to zoom into. So if I position it right over here, it's going to zoom into that point at the beginning of the video clip, right? We want to zoom right into towards the end. So we're going to move our cursor towards the end and then zoom in. And all we want to do, we don't have to zoom in that far. Say something around here. And really we want to try and start fading when this crossfade happens. So when it starts to crossfade here, we want to have our audio fade out. So let's see how that works. Let's click here. Let's save this and play it. That's okay, but I think we can even get away with fading much earlier. Maybe even when this second crossfade happens, we can start fading our audio at this point. So let's see how that works. So for me, I think that's better. Let's go back to the beginning of the timeline. Let's save this. Now, the last thing we want to do is export our video. So we want to save it in a format that we might want to upload to YouTube. You may want to send it to your friends. You may want to do certain things with this content, right? But more than likely, you want to probably put it onto, you probably want to export and upload it to YouTube or put it on Facebook or somewhere like that. So to export this video, what we're going to do, there's two ways to do this, right? Now I'm going to give you a little tip here. Normally what most people do is click on this button here. They'll click on this button, they'll click video output, and they'll go to this and they'll set it to MPEG 4. They'll leave it at quality 2 and they'll click save. This is one way to do it. I'm actually going to show you this way, but then I'm going to show you a slightly better way to do this. So I'm going to click save. It's going to ask me where do I want to save this. So I'm going to go to my desktop and I want to save this video clip into the same folder where I've created or storing the rest of the content. So if I click save now and click, it's going to start to do that, right? But if I click minimize, I can't actually minimize the Magix Smooth Edit Pro, right? It just won't let me minimize. I can't get to my desktop, for example. So I'm going to click cancel and I'm going to click yes, cancel export. So that's one way to do the, let me close this. That's one way to do the export. Now, if you're going to go and do something else, like go and make a cup of tea, and this is quite a short video clip, and you want to export it that way, that's okay. That's not a problem. But sometimes the video clip is much longer. Maybe it's going to take 20 minutes, half an hour, and you want to be doing other work in the background while that is exporting. If you can't minimize, it's a little bit frustrating, right? There is another way to minimize it. You can press like the Windows key and D, but it becomes a bit of a problem for me in particular. So what I suggest you do is batch process it. So you go to File and you go to Batch Conversion here. Now, although there's only one video clip, we can still batch process it. Normally, in future tutorials, I'm going to be doing quite a few different tutorials on Magix Movie Editor Plus 2020. Normally what I do is when I'm doing my video editing for my YouTube channel, I'll go and edit 5 or 6 different videos, and then I'll batch process them and do all of the exports in one go. But in today's example, we're only doing one video clip, but I want to be able to export this video and do other work while this one's exporting. So I want to be able to minimize this Magix Movie Edit Pro and do other work in the background. So if we go to, you don't have to do it this way, you can do it this way as well, but if we go to File, Batch Conversion, multiple movies here, as default it's going to put this particular video clip into the process for the queue. So this one, this blue line here selected represents the queue here. So in the drop down here, if I select MPEG 4 here, I'm going to set it to MPEG 4, click on Advanced Settings, and in Advanced Settings it's set to resolution 1920 by 1080. The frame rate I want to set it to 29.97 frames, which is what we originally set it to at the beginning. And that's pretty much about it. I don't really need to do anything else. Let's see, it's going to save it to the right directory, but you can click on this directory here and you can go to your desktop and make sure you're saving it into the right folder. It is the correct folder. You can see the clip it just tried to make here. So it's going to probably try and overwrite that, or it may rename it to a different file name. We'll turn on apply anti-interlace flickering, suppress flickering. Really, I always turn that on, but to be fair, it shouldn't really have any flickering. It depends on how you've captured your content and certain things, but just turn it on. I don't think it's going to hurt. And if we click OK now, and then we click Start Processing, this box pops up and it says mixing down. Now I can minimize and I can close this and I can go and do other things. I can open up my web browser, I can go surf the internet, I can go to Facebook and YouTube and do all other things that I want to do while that is processing in the background. So you can see the difference between the default export and the batch processing. So 9 times out of 10 I'm doing batch processing because I might set this stuff up while I'm doing loads of other things. I'm working on other projects. So while this is all exporting 5 or 6 different videos in the background, I can be busy working on other projects and doing other tasks, right? So if we maximize this, just expand it again, we can see it's processing in the background. Normally it will say we're like 1 of 10 videos processing in the background. In this case we're only doing 1 export, but even if we're only doing 1 export, I think this is kind of a better way to do it. Again, this is your own preference, right? I'm not saying there's a right or wrong way to do this. I'm not saying that using this tool up here is wrong in any way. I just like to be able to minimize this, crack on with other things, and then maximize it as well. There is another way to minimize it, to be fair. If you're using this option here, you can press the Windows key and D, and that takes you to the desktop, but you know, it's a little bit problematic sometimes because as you're working on other things, this thing might pop open on the screen again. You have to keep pressing Windows D, and really Windows D is minimizing every single window that's on your desktop, so that's kind of a difference there, you know. So use this batch processing. It works well. It's really good. So that's all done, and normally it will say in here successfully exported loads of different video clips. Let's click OK, let's click save, let's minimize this, let's open up this folder, and now inside here we can see the MP4 file here, right here. I think it's, no, it's actually this one here. Let's delete this one. This was the little test one we was doing. This one here. We can open this, and now we can see the end result. Let's watch this and see what it looks like. Okay, I think that came out really well. Hopefully you've got a certain, similar sort of result. It really depends on what sort of video clips. If you use the ones from my notes, so I'll put these notes again. As I mentioned, I'll put all of these notes in the YouTube description so you can download all the same content. I've even put the titles in there for you. You can just cut and paste them in yourself, just like I've done today. So I've done all of that work for you as well. And this is where you need to search for that particular music track in the audio library for YouTube. So that's really a good guide on how to use Magix Movie Edit Pro. I'm going to be doing some more advanced tutorials in the near future, but I thought, seeing as this is quite the latest version of Magix, it's only been released quite recently, I've got a hold of a copy of this, and I wanted to create this tutorial because I know that using video editing software can be a bit tricky if you've never done it before, or if you're transitioning from another application to do Magix Movie Edit Pro. Can be a little bit tricky, but to be fair, Magix Movie Edit Pro, out of all the different sort of video editing from all the different sort of video editing software I've used over periods of time, anything from Adobe Premiere, we've got DaVinci Resolve. Those software applications are amazing as well, but they seem to be much more difficult to use. But I guess everything is down to knowledge, right? Once you learn how to use something, you get used to it, and then it becomes like it just becomes natural the way that you use that particular piece of software. So Magix Movie Edit Pro, I've been using that for many years, and it's really easy for me to use. I can video edit very quickly. Although this one took a bit longer, this particular tutorial, I had to kind of guide you and show you. But normally something like this video clip that you see here today, I would have done all of that editing in probably 15 minutes. To get all of that done, even less if I had a good plan in my mind of what I wanted first. So let's go ahead and close down this folder. That's the first tutorial for Magix Movie Edit Pro Plus 2020 beginners tutorial. I'll be making much more tutorials. I'll be showing you how to do green screen work. I'll be showing you how I cut video for my YouTube channel, loads of different things using Magix Movie Edit Pro Plus 2020. I hope you find this tutorial very useful, and I look forward to seeing you on the next DCP web tutorial.